In a small, close-knit town, a young black girl named Mia found herself facing an unthinkable threat. Sweet and curious, Mia loved exploring the woods behind her home with her loyal German shepherd, Max. They were inseparable. Max was more than just a dog. He was her protector and best friend. But one quiet afternoon, their peaceful routine took a dark turn when Mia crossed paths with two men harboring hateful intentions. What started as a simple walk turned into a moment that would change everything. As the men's menacing presence grew, Max began acting strangely, as though he knew something Mia didn't. Just when it seemed there was no escape, Max's instincts kicked in, revealing a surprising secret that would turn the tide in an unimaginable way. This is a story of courage, loyalty, and a bond that proved stronger than hate. What did Max do to save Mia? Stay tuned to find out. Mia had always felt safe in her small town, but lately something had changed. She'd overheard whispers about newcomers with bad intentions, and her parents had warned her to be extra cautious. Still, she never expected trouble to find her on a path she knew so well. Max, who usually trotted happily at her side, was suddenly alert, his ears perked, and his movements tense. It was as if he could sense danger before it arrived. The men appeared out of nowhere, their cold stares sending a chill down Mia's spine. She froze, clutching Max's leash tighter, unsure of what to do. They didn't say much, but their presence was enough to make her feel trapped. Max growled low, a sound she'd rarely heard before, and positioned himself between her and the men. As they stepped closer, Mia's heart raced. What did Max know that she didn't? Something was about to happen. Mia's mind raced as she searched for a way out, but the path behind her felt just as threatening as the men in front. Max's growl deepened, his body tense, muscles ready to spring. She had never seen him like this before, and it scared her, but it also gave her a strange sense of hope. He wasn't just her dog right now, he was her guardian. The men exchanged glances, their smirks making it clear they weren't planning to leave anytime soon. One of them stepped closer, his voice low and unsettling. "Nice dog," he muttered, his tone making Mia's stomach twist. She instinctively stepped back, but Max didn't budge, holding his ground like a soldier on duty. Then something unexpected happened. Max barked sharply, but it wasn't a warning bark. It was like he was trying to tell Mia something. He tugged hard on the leash, pulling her in a direction she hadn't noticed before. Was he leading her to safety? Or was there something else out there waiting for them? The forest seemed darker now, shadows stretching endlessly, and Mia realized she had no choice but to trust Max completely. Mia's legs moved before her mind could catch up, letting Max guide her deeper into the woods. The men called after her, their voices growing sharper, more insistent. She didn't dare look back. Every step felt heavier, the crunch of leaves beneath her feet echoing like thunder in the tense silence of the forest. Max kept pulling, his strength unwavering as if he had a destination in mind. The men weren't giving up. Their footsteps grew louder, closer. Mia's chest tightened, fear pounding in her ears. The trees seemed to close in around her, making it harder to see the path ahead. She wanted to cry out, but her voice was stuck, her throat tight with panic. Suddenly, Max stopped, his body rigid. He turned his head slightly, as if listening for something, before letting out a deep, guttural bark. That's when Mia noticed it, a faint sound in the distance, like rushing water or wind moving unnaturally. It wasn't just the forest anymore. There was something alive in the air around them. Whatever it was, Max seemed to sense it, and his determined eyes told Mia to stay close. Behind them, the men's voices grew angrier, their pace quickening. Max let out another bark, louder this time, and it echoed through the trees. It was almost as if he was calling for something or someone. Mia's heart raced as the forest seemed to come alive around them. What was Max leading her to, and would they reach it in time? Mia clung to Max's leash, her fingers trembling as they pushed deeper into the woods. The sound of rushing water grew louder, almost deafening now, But there was no stream nearby, at least not one she knew of. It was as if the forest itself had shifted, pulling them into a place that didn't quite feel real. The men's voices were closer than ever. "There's nowhere to go," one shouted, his tone sharper, filled with an edge that sent a chill down her spine. Mia's chest tightened as panic surged. But Max didn't waver. He barked again, this time with more urgency, almost like he was trying to summon something. And then it happened. The ground beneath Mia seemed to hum, a vibration so subtle she thought she might be imagining it. But Max reacted instantly, his ears pinned back, his stance firm. Suddenly, the shadows in the trees shifted, and a figure emerged, not human, but not entirely animal either. Its presence was overwhelming, and its glowing eyes locked on the men. Maya froze, unsure whether to feel relieved or even more afraid. The men stopped in their tracks, their bravado vanishing as they stumbled back, their faces pale. Whatever this thing was, it had come because of Max. But was it here to help, or was this something even more dangerous? Mia's breath hitched as the creature moved closer, its gaze never leaving the men. What had Max called into the forest, and why? The air felt electric as the creature stepped into full view. Its massive frame shimmered in the dim light, blending with the forest like it belonged to the earth itself. Max stood tall beside Mia, his tail wagging slightly as if greeting an old friend. The men stumbled back further, their tough demeanor shattered. One of them tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come, his terror silencing him. Mia's heart pounded as she watched the creature. It moved slowly, deliberately, placing itself between her and the men. Without a sound, it stretched its massive form, releasing an aura of pure power. The men turned and ran, crashing through the woods in desperation, their threats replaced by cries of fear. Mia's knees buckled, but Max nudged her, grounding her in the moment. She looked up at the creature, unsure whether to thank it or fear it. It lowered its head slightly, almost as if bowing to her, before turning to Max. For a brief moment, the two locked eyes, a silent exchange that Mia couldn't understand. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the creature melted back into the forest, vanishing as if it had never been there. The humming stopped, and the woods grew quiet again. Mia looked down at Max, who was now calm, his job done. As they turned back toward home, Maya realized Max wasn't just her loyal protector. He was part of something much bigger, something she might never fully understand. But one thing was clear: she was safe, thanks to him and a secret bond he shared with the forest. As Mia and Max walked back through the woods, the tension began to ease, though her mind buzzed with unanswered questions. The forest felt different now, quieter, almost protective, as if it had wrapped her in its care. She glanced at Max, who trotted calmly beside her, his usual cheerful energy slowly returning. Whatever had happened back there, he had known exactly what to do. When they finally reached home, Mia hugged Max tightly, burying her face in his fur. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice trembling with gratitude. He let out a soft whine, licking her cheek as if to say, "Always." Later that night, as Mia sat on her bed with Max curled at her feet, she thought about how the forest had come alive for her. She didn't understand it completely, but she knew one thing for sure: Max wasn't just her dog. He was her protector, her hero, and her connection to something extraordinary.